It is Friday, July 29th. I'm back in Madison, and we're talking about communication today. Good morning, everyone. I'm officially back in Madison, and sorry it's posting a little bit later today than it has been this past week. I obviously got back into town late yesterday, and it was a long day. We'll just put it at that, as you saw from yesterday's blog post. But today I just wanted to talk not about tech, not about any new app thing, even though there's a very big news story today that Twitter is live streaming its first esports competition today, and that's going to be a very potentially huge new form of entertainment going into the future, in a similar way that physical sports have been. But today I actually wanted to talk about communication, because storytelling is all about communication, and given that our main product is story, communication and greasing the wheels of storytelling is always kind of greasing the wheels of communication rather, is always on our mind. Our brains are hardwired to view the world through story. We see causality, we see patterns, even when it isn't actually there. But obviously we see it when it is there as well. In the morning, I always use this example. In the morning when you wake up, let's say you got a big job interview coming up, and you spill coffee on your new dress shirt that you've gotten just for that occasion. The first thought you're likely to have is, what a shitty start to the day. If you're using the word start, given it's the start of the day, you're already placing it into a timeline. You're placing causality. You're placing the idea that you spilling this coffee on your shirt is actually going to impact your ability to perform well at your interview. You're imposing narrative onto seemingly unrelated aspects of your day. And that's natural. That's what human beings do. That's why stories exist. We didn't invent stories because they're fun. We invented stories because that's literally how our brains work. You could even argue that we didn't really invent stories. It's just how we see the world. So, with that in mind, storytelling, people who tell the stories, people who communicate through stories, they have all the power in the world. A metaphor that Neil deGrasse Tyson uses is in relation to basketball. That in basketball, and I'm not a huge basketball fan, and I don't play basketball, so some of you who know more than me can correct me. But he used the example saying that the passer in basketball is always at fault if the pass isn't completed. Even if it hits the receiver right in the hands and it gets dropped, the blame is laid at the foot of the person passing the ball. We'd use that same metaphor to talk about communication and storytelling, in the sense that whoever's telling the story, if they're not formatting that story, if they're not crafting that communication perfectly for the audience that they're intending to receive that, it's their fault if it gets misunderstood. If you find yourself often thinking, gosh, my audience is not taking what I'm saying the right way, they're misunderstanding me, they're misconstruing me, they're taking me out of context, whatever. Some of that may be true, but a lot of that may just be on the way you're framing the conversation. This is how you get into situations where people are talking past one another as rather to one another. We've all been that third party in the room when we hear two people arguing, and we're like, they're saying the exact same thing, but they can't see it because their narratives are framed slightly differently. They're slightly askew, but they're actually in agreement. They just can't get the pieces to line up. That's what great, masterful storytelling can do, is it can put those pieces in alignment. So it all comes down to your audience. It all comes down to how do they receive this information? What's their worldview? How do they see whatever it is you're about to tell them? You need to frame what you're trying to tell them in a way they are most prepared to receive it. That doesn't mean hedge your bets or tone down your rhetoric or whatever. It just means you need to understand how you can most effectively and efficiently put what's in your heart into their heart. Because that's what you're trying to do, right? I mean, communication isn't about just it's my way or the highway. You want them to think or feel the same thing you're thinking or feeling. In order to do that, you need to understand them. You need to speak their language. Speak natively to them. I think the world needs a little bit more of this. But, so that's what we're thinking about today. Obviously, it's Friday. It's the end of another week. End of week 2 of Story First Daily. So thank you so much for those of you who've been watching. Please give us comments. Like we haven't been getting enough comments on this stuff. Like, you know, tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what you would like us to do more of. You know, would you like us to I don't even know what would you find most valuable? Maybe it's not hearing me yap the whole time. I have no idea. So just tell me what you think, and we'll respond. So thank you so much for watching. Happy Friday, and we'll talk to you all on Monday. Have a great weekend.